Next, we have in our midst, we're very actually honored to have Glenn Engler with us tonight. He is a double jumbo and has 3 decades of experience in marketing and communications. He's currently the CEO of Digital Influence Group, and through his experience advising well-established brands such as IBM, GE, he's become a true trailblazer in the industry, digital and social media marketing, all that great stuff. So he's really in the tradition of Tex. He's really somebody who has leveraged his toughest experience to become a practical and intellectual pioneer. And so we're really honored to have with us a jumbo thought leader, exchanging ideas with us about what the potential is of our personal brands in this world where our identities are tied to hyper-transparent and instantly updatable online social networks. But I will say one other thing, which is that at the Tufts Idea Exchange, the only currency obviously is ideas, but Glenn is a businessman, so be careful, he may make you an offer that you can't refuse. Welcome, Glenn, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm not sure about the fat head there, so let me move on. There's my Twitter handle on the top right. Please join along in the conversation. I will follow and engage. Topic of the conversation today is Fully Exposed, and it's about how brands are built and destroyed in seconds in social media, including your own. So what I'm going to do today is talk about 2 things. I'm going to talk about big brands. Sorry, I pace around. I'm going to talk about big brands. I'm going to talk about you guys. And let's start with big brands and the ones that are doing it right. There's a whole bunch of great examples that are out there, from Ford, from IBM, Oreo. If you watch the Super Bowl and saw the blackout, within 7 minutes, they had an entire social media strategy. They were working with their brand partners, and it was absolutely phenomenal, culturally relevant in the moment. One of my favorite brands, and yes, I admit I have a problem, I am a Starbucks junkie. Back to the admission earlier that you talked about, Starbucks is one of the absolute best marketers that's out there, and they use the social space and the social platforms absolutely brilliantly. Let me give you a couple of examples. They have their brand that's overarching. They have all aspects of touch points, live, digital, social, working together. So let me give you a couple examples. They have 3.5 million Twitter followers. They have an active team that is constantly listening to the conversation in the social space. So when someone like Katy Perry tweets, "Today I quit my beloved coffee and made the switch to vitamin B complex, don't worry Starbucks, it's not forever," they very brilliantly responded quickly, "It's okay, today I made the switch from California girls to hold it against me, don't worry it isn't forever." Absolutely brilliant way of just taking this particular platform, using it correctly. Lovely exchange. Yes, they don't do that for everybody, they know Katy Perry is important, but absolutely brilliant. All right, Facebook, 34 million Facebook fans. When they introduced their blonde roast, you see the engagement and comments, 700 comments, 4,000 people liking them, 260 shares, and in the midst of the snowstorm, talking culturally relevant, they talk about a wonderful mocha. Check out the 17,000 likes, about the 1,000 comments and shares in 7 minutes. I was not one of the one, I'm not a big mocha fan, but it is truly amazing what they do there, and again, this is Facebook. They have 76,000 Pinterest followers. They're constantly using visuals and sight, sound, and motion wonderfully. They have a YouTube channel. They have this Starbucks idea blot. 150,000 ideas are teed up by individual consumers, just like all of us. These are ideas about the food, about the drinks, about the environmentally friendly containers, about the ambiance. And the best ideas are crowdsourced up. And every month those top voted ideas are put in front of the senior executives and brought in. So some of the new food items are because of crowdsourced ideas. The little green straw that is supposed to be more environmentally friendly to be the anti-spill device was also made up from individuals. Just absolutely phenomenal. Their mobile experience is brilliant, innovative, intersecting mobile commerce to actually a wonderful loyalty program. And using it right there, it's much faster for them. It's much better for you as an individual. And as a result, their brand scores continue to skyrocket. 5 of the last 6 years, their brand metrics have increased. And they reach over 8% of all web users through all of the pieces on the web. And that, I would say, is a win. Now, there's a lot of roadkill that's out there. And you may have seen everything from Gap introducing a logo really badly, to United breaks guitars, to Comcast must die, to the Kenneth Cole completely inappropriate tweet exchange, and Chrysler as well. And you can study up on those. One of my personal favorites, unfortunately they continue to be in the news all too often, is Carnival. So let me share one of the problems here. When I say carnival and cruises, you would tend to think of shiny, happy people in boats, wonderful experiences, slides, theater, wonderful food, way too much food. But the problem is on January 12, 2012, this happened. And I know you all know exactly what that is because it is painful and it was a horrific accident and it's still sitting there on its side. And Costa Concordia is actually the sister agency. It's a sister cruise line owned by Carnival. And so there was this wonderful, interesting moment, I'm sure, at the C-suite of Carnival Cruise saying, what do we do? Like PR executives, legal, everybody around the table saying, how do we do this? What do we do? Should we engage? Should we not? And 7 days after the accident, their Facebook page basically said, out of respect for all those recent affected, we're going to take a time out on social. So think back to what I just shared with you on Starbucks, and then think of this horrific accident. Think about what you, if you have questions, and how social media and Facebook are being used right now, that this was a decision they made. Their CEO, Mickey Arison, also owns the Miami Heat. He is an avid Twitter user, 30 to 40 times a day. He is tweeting in Spanish and in English around cruises, and he came out on January 17th and said, I'm not going to be as active as I was. So they kind of went silent. 5 days later, they reopened their Facebook page on Carnival Cruise Lines and said, okay, we're back. It's great. You'll see 3,000 likes, 600 comments. When they said they were going to pause, it was about 50-50 positive and negative. When they came back 5 days later, this was overwhelmingly negative, including comments like, well, the good news is after almost killing everyone on board, those people got a 30% discount on all future cruises. Whew. And in fact, that's true. They made an offer to all of the people that were on the boat and the ship and said you get 30% off their next cruise. Bloggers wrote about it and they got cease and desist letters from Carnival. And what do you think good bloggers do? They took copies of the cease and desist letters and blogged about them. So needless to say, we have a downward spiraling effect about how not to engage. In a moment, if you think about it, these comments had things like, I'm going on a cruise next week, is it safe? And for them to shut down and not engage is exactly the wrong thing to do. Absolutely makes sense. Stop those TV spots of the beautiful boat going along and saying, hey, come on down, it's 10% off. Makes perfect sense. This is completely the wrong channel to do that. Mickey Arison's first tweet back was, let's go Heat. The CEO of the organization clearly distanced January 30th, so we have about 12 days. Maybe it'll go away. Maybe people won't connect Costa Concordia with Carnival Cruise Lines. Well, since I run a social media agency, we decided to do some analysis. So the first thing we did is looked at conversation volume to see if pre and post that accident, people were talking about it. Well, in fact, conversations went up 320%. There was a lot of activity. This is in Twitter, this is blogs, these are news feeds, these are forums. A lot of people are talking about it. And then we looked at sentiment analysis, positive or negative. And you guys are smart. Red is bad, green is good. So if I show you before and I show you after, you see that we have a problem. The last hypothesis, clearly from the executive team, was maybe people won't make the connection between the Costa Cruise Line and Carnival. So we pulled what words were being talked about the most, and a word cloud that you guys are all familiar with. The bigger the word, the more often it's mentioned. We pulled the words, 3 weeks before, we pulled the words Carnival and Cruise. And as you can see, the 3 weeks prior to the accident, it was what you would expect. It's fun, it's ship, it's vacation, it's Carnival and Cruise. I think I'm leading the witness here. You can probably guess what it's going to look like the 3 weeks after. It's, first of all, Concordia is as big, and now you see words like aground, abandoning, and manslaughter. You think the population has figured out the connection. There is nothing you cannot hide. People are searching for the truth. As a brand, and I would suggest as a CEO, you had an opportunity to engage and be transparent, but in effect, you tried to hope that it would go away. And the story continues, as you can probably know, from off Africa to the cruise line that had the fire, that's now the ship that is now stuck in Alabama and just flipped it. They have a big problem that's going on, so one would call that a fail. So I just gave you a win and a fail as brands, and that's great for a marketing course, but let's talk about you guys. First of all, I have a 19-year-old and a 23-year-old, so I certainly get the appeal and power of social media. And you should listen to your parents, because every now and then we actually know what we're talking about. I see a couple parents in the room, and it is true. And my wife runs a cat shelter, so I have to put a cat photo in there. But even if you're a kid, you should listen to your mom. So you should listen. We actually know what we're talking about every now and then. And as an employer, and I see hundreds and hundreds of resumes and interview lots of people, don't post those pictures. We do look at them. And yes, We will look, and you have that wonderful filter because you're all really smart. We're going to look at them, and every employer will look at them. And if they say that they don't, they are not telling the truth. There will be somebody that will look at those pictures that you don't want. In the old way, before Timeline on Facebook, it was really hard to find that stuff. Now it's really easy to find stuff on Timeline. So my recommendation to you guys is just go back and clean that up a little bit. And in fact, if you are one of the 250 million Facebook users that don't have any privacy controls, please go fix that. It's a little bit complicated in the top right-hand corner, but it's actually not. And it's really worth it. Again, we'll look at it completely. Twitter's wonderful, incredibly powerful, some great hashtag dialogue that's going on right now. There are good tweets and bad tweets. And to steal what one of my colleagues has said, you are what you tweet. So think about it, and think about the stories of who runs into problems when you say something stupid. We will find it, we will look at it. It's probably not the only thing that will matter, but in a tie, absolutely we'll look. And that can be a negative. The latest craze taking over high schools and many colleges is Snapchat. Wonderfully fantastic. It's great. You can set when that image goes away every 5 to 10 seconds. It's completely safe. And some people believe it's the next Instagram or it's the latest sexting tool. And just 2 weeks ago, out in San Francisco, 2 young ladies took naked pictures of themselves in Snapchat, sent it to their boyfriends, who grabbed it, put them up on Instagram, and the cops are now involved. Their 2 wonderful boyfriends, by the way, are now being brought up on pornography charges, and let's just say the entire school system is a little bit embarrassing. So Snapchat is wonderful because it's a little more controlled, but yeah, don't share those pictures. So what your parents probably didn't tell you is the power of social media, and that's what I'll end with. There are unbelievable platforms that are out there to tell your story. There's blogging platforms, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's LinkedIn. They're incredibly easy to set up in a variety of ways. And what I would suggest to you is, oh, by the way, the reason this is really important, sorry to share this with you, but the average amount of time your resume is looked at, 6 seconds, if you're lucky. The paper's important because it says a lot, but it's just a piece of paper. These platforms, unbelievably powerful. Share your story. Share your passions. Let me give you a couple of examples. Blog was set up by somebody completely interested in music, sharing that. Sidewalk chalk art, incredibly cool. Pictures, passions, talking about it. Photo journeys, Instagram, wonderful way of telling your travels, what you're interested in. You're into sports? I'm not into the Giants, I'm a Boston fan, but you're into sports? Gardening, food, recycling, animal rescue, snakes. I hate snakes, but thought I'd put that up there. You're a foodie. You're into environmentally friendly. You're into cars. Tell us your story. Share it. It's really easy. For us, as a hiring individual, it helps me understand what makes you tick. And at the end of the day, I'm going to add people to the team that add value that we can be inspired from and are inspired by the rest of the folks. Because in most companies, it's a team sport. And this is a wonderful way to do that. The other thing I would say is absolutely everybody, if you haven't, please go fill out and get a LinkedIn profile. It is unbelievably powerful that's out there. It gives you an incredible networking that was not available when I was here on the Hill long ago. And why is that important? Well, first of all, if you just searched on LinkedIn right now for the number of people that had an affiliation with Tufts University, there are 41,000 names that are out there. 41,000. Now add to that connections to your high school. By the way, this is where your parents add value. Their connections, your siblings and other folks. You probably have, if you just add that up, 50, 60, 70, maybe 100,000 different connections at your fingertips you didn't even realize. Maybe not the first degree, but that classic 6 degrees of separation. On LinkedIn, you can probably get access to whatever your next job is or whatever you're interested in through connections that you have. Unbelievably powerful. So, let me wrap up. What did I just walk you guys through? There are good stories. There are bad stories. Your resume is looked at in 6 seconds. Storytell. Use those tools. Share what makes you guys tick. Network the heck out of it because it's there. It will help you. Before you go on an interview, make sure you look on LinkedIn. Nothing's better than finding that connection, and now you have something to talk about beyond that silly piece of paper on the resume. Use it. All right, and the way I'm going to leave you guys, however, is actually to put my money where my mouth is. As I said, I run an agency in Boston, right next to Quincy Market. Here's my challenge to you guys. Tweet us. DIG, INF, GRP, Ginger Ludwig, right there in the third row, raised her hand. She runs this Twitter handle for me. She runs marketing for the agency. You have 2 weeks. Tell us your story. And what is awaiting you? Is a paid summer internship at my agency for the summer. I'm serious. And that's it. Thank you very much.